our Lord. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to invite my friend Mary forward. This passage from Ephesians, as many of you know, we're in a 6-week series in our lectionary where we read through Ephesians every week. This particular passage from Ephesians 2 is the one that I preached on about 25 times when I went to different churches all across the nation and talked about refugee resettlement. And I was ready to hear a new message on it. So I'm so glad that Mary came to share about refugee resettlement right here in Wisconsin. Okay. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Do I use both?
Yes, this one won't hardly pick you up.
Okay.
Yep.
Otherwise, can I just walk around?
Yeah, you can walk.
Okay.
You can walk over.
So much better for me to do this. If you would please give me a time, because, on the amount of time that I have, because when I get started talking about this, I kind of could go on for a very long time. And that's because I work for Lutheran Social Services of Wisconsin and Upper Michigan, and I started there as an intern and had no idea that 26 years later I'd still be with them. My daughter lives with cancer. She's now 36 years old. And LSS has allowed me to have a very flexible work schedule, and which allowed me to be with her when I needed to be. But also, it was because of the work that I was doing with them. I was working for 17 years up in Brown County, working in mental health. Never thought I'd be working in mental health, ever, ever. It was really foreign to me. But once I walked in the door, I realized that, like diabetes or chronic arthritis, they had a condition that also was a chemical imbalance and affected their lives, and they were very much like me. And that was a great gift, and that's why I've stayed with the agency. In 2009, however, there were a lot of budget cuts at the government level, and they asked me if I would please be willing to take a new assignment in Milwaukee, and I said, sure. Love the agency, love the work I was doing, realized the importance of improving the quality of people's lives through the work that we did. So I agreed to accept an assignment working in refugee resettlement in Milwaukee. I knew nothing about it. The only language I speak has a dialect from northeastern Wisconsin, which you can probably hear. And on December 1st of 2009, I walked into a whole new world. And what I did not expect was a rebirth of sorts for me, which continues to this day. I've rediscovered my faith and my trust in God in a way that I didn't expect. And I also have become extremely patriotic because of this work. So let me tell you a little bit why. In 1974, I was living in Manitowoc, and I saw some people fishing on the pier, but they didn't look like the regular people from Manitowoc fishing on the pier. I realized that these were the people that I had seen on TV in the news during the Vietnam War. These are the people I saw trying to get up on the helicopter on top of that building. These were the people that I saw crouching while their village was being burned, and I went, oh my gosh, TV is now right here. And they seemed very foreign, and they seemed very alien to me. And I didn't really talk to them. I didn't know what to do. I was young, I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to do. But through the years, hundreds, if not thousands, have come to Wisconsin because Wisconsin was very open to welcoming people from Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. So here I am working now in refugee resettlement. And those people were still kind of alien to me until I started working in resettlement, in which I became the alien. Because they had been through war, trauma, displacement. They were basically forced to come to the United States. Reportedly, there's about 55 million registered refugees in the world. This year, only 25,000 have been admitted to the United States. And these are refugees. These aren't unaccompanied children. These are not unauthorized people. They're not even immigrants. Did you know that the United States takes over 1 million immigrants into the country per year? Refugees only account this year for 25,000. So there are distinctions that are very important. I do have something that Pastor Kelly has that has some information for you to read later that kind of explains what I learned in the beginning about what a refugee is and how they get here. But the one thing that I began to see from working with refugees is that they did not have a choice to come here, but they made that leap of faith to get on the plane. They had no way, they could not go back, they could not turn back because they would be killed, and they are still being killed. But what I did notice is the gifts that they were bringing with them. When I came in to the church area here, I didn't know where to sit down, so I sat down by a man that was in the red shirt here. Because refugees have taught me that they are very communal, they're very collective. So rather than sitting apart with the American personal distance, they make a point of standing right next to you or sitting right next to you because they have a moral obligation to be communal. And that's a really wonderful thing. The other thing that it has been very clear to me is the ultimate faith that they have in God every day. For them to survive and to get here required a great deal of faith that if they were a good person, that things would work out. When I walk into a room, if we have a meeting with refugees, and when I walk in the room, the power that I have as a white American, much less female, supervisor of a program. It's a very, very powerful position that they feel I have. And it's my job to walk in and make them feel like we're on the same playing field. You know, that we are all in this together. That I am there to be that representative of welcome into the greater American society. And that their faith might be different, but there's so much collective common that we can make those connections together. When I walk into a room like that, they all stop talking, and they all stare at me. And if I go near a chair, they will jump up and vacate it. And it's my job, for me, to make them feel like, no, no, no. That is your seat. I want to honor you by sitting in it. In their culture, you honor them by taking that seat. So you can see that there's a lot of clash, you know. I feel like I'm the alien. They're trying to welcome me. So it's a really wonderful thing every single day. There is so much going on in the news right now. There is so much apparent disagreement. But I still believe that this is a wonderful country. I believe that people truly, deep down individually, are very, very welcoming, but sometimes people just don't have the information that would help them understand. So I'm here today, and I have contact information on here if you ever want to have a question answered. If you just want to really find out what I know from my work, please give us a call. Information is power, and when you hear about if you have a question and you have the facts, that can be a very powerful gift, because truly our work is God's work, and I am so reminded of that every single day. We have a very powerful responsibility to see someone who looks alien and make them us. And refugee resettlement gives me that opportunity every single day. And I would love to share that with you and tell you more stories at some time. But once again, makes me very patriotic. It has really increased and deepened my faith in God every single day. And I feel very blessed for that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. There were times when I doubted that the small efforts that church people can make in the lives of resettled refugees would make a difference. And then I had an opportunity to meet with a family in Germany at a church about this size, which was down to about 15 members. And then the government decided to put a refugee resettlement shelter just a few blocks away. And every single week, someone walked into Pastor Jen's office and said, "I heard you could tell me about Jesus." And Pastor Jens baptized 25 adult converts that year, one of whom I got to meet when Pastor Jens gave me a tour of the shelter. And this tall, gangly man came running up who only spoke Farsi. Pastor Jens only spoke English and German, so a Farsi-German translator, and Pastor Jens worked to translate for me. This man had been to the local Lutheran church exactly 48 hours before, and he was so excited his new pastor had come and brought an American pastor to meet him, and wanted me to tell all of you that the church is what made that community feel like home. The government gave them a concrete floor to sleep on and 1 meal a day. The church gave their kids backpacks for school and invited the mom to crochet group, taught the dad how to ride a bicycle to work. The church sat next to them when they showed up and invited them to coffee hour. And because of the church, they were ready to be citizens in that community. And because of the refugees, that church will continue for the next 500 years. Because now over 50% of the active persons in Lutheran churches in Germany are recently resettled refugees. The churches that have decided to welcome refugees are the churches that will likely have their doors open in the next 5 to 10 years. Because the family I met had left Iran. Their family can trace their lineage for nearly 2,000 years in Persia, but when they baptized their daughter, they put a life sentence on her head. It's illegal to be baptized in Iran. So they walked for 14 days with a suitcase and their 5-year-old to a country where they can worship God. The work that Mary and Lutheran Social Services does, we do because we are Christian. It doesn't matter if they are Christian or not. We do it because we are. We do it because God asked us to. If you have a passion for this work like I do, I ask that you connect with Mary, because I've had the pleasure ever since I arrived a year ago to hear about the amazing things that she and her office does. So please connect with her at coffee hour. I invite you to stand as you're able and join us in our hymn of the day, number 710.